it coming? Here it is. Hi, everyone. It's Meredith with Soul Navigation. Welcome to my live stream. We're going to have so much fun today. We're going to wait just a couple seconds here to see if some people are going to join us. And today we're going to talk about Mercury in retrograde and the do's and the don'ts. Hi, how are you? Thank you for joining. And the do's and the don'ts. And also, I want to read your own charts. I'm going to take 10 people. I'm going to try to do 15, but I promise 10. And if you super chat me, your comments, your birth time, your birthplace will show up at the tippy top, and my assistant will see you first. But first, I'm going to talk a little bit about Mercury in retrograde, and then I'm going to go into the chart readings. And what I want to look at in your chart today, if you're particularly interested, is I want to show you how Mercury shows up in your chart. And if it is retrograde at the time you were born, what does that mean for you? So I'm a little bit different in what I believe about Mercury is even a little bit more important than Mars and Venus in a chart, especially in compatibility charts, because every single element inside your relationships kind of hang their hat on what Mercury is doing, how you think and how you process your thoughts and how you express your thoughts. And so I even think that when two people get together and they have Mercuries that don't jive, but they've got great Mars-Venus connections, their relationship struggles a little bit. So I want to talk to you about how Mercury shows up in your chart, what it wants to do, what it does, where it's challenged, and how is it gifted. So it's going to be interesting. So let's dive in a little bit. I'm so glad you guys are all here, and I recognize so many names. I'm just so happy to see you here. So I've got my wonderful assistant right here. She's going to run the charts. And can you see this?
Yep. Oh, no.
Okay. So she's all set to go. So okay. She wants me to tell you that we're doing this American style. So if you do write your information, I need your birth time, your birthplace, your birthday and year, of course, and where you were born. But I do need your birth time. So I hope you have that. If you could tell me the time in American style, so not the 24 hours, and if you could make sure that you put your month, then date, then year, because last time we wasted some time where I didn't understand that some of my European and overseas watchers put the date first. So now also, if what we're going to do is we're going to take 10 people for sure. I hope I can get to 15. We'll see. Super Chat gets your birth time and your information up to the tippy top so my assistant can see you faster. I'm not looking at the times and dates. She's just picking and putting them in and building the charts. So if you don't get a reading from me today, please don't hate me. Please send me some love. And I'm so sorry if I don't get to everybody who wants a reading. And if you do have questions, please do write them out, because I do go back and I try to answer all of the questions that I possibly can. But I have a really large practice. I have over 10,000 clients in 17 countries. I work all day long doing reading after reading after reading after reading. If you want to book a reading, you can. And I'm going to list my full slate online scheduler. My website is being recreated right now, so it's not available, but it's going to be gorgeous. It's probably going to take me another month. But you can find that, my online scheduler, and you can jump on my calendar. I know I'm booked for July. Most of August is gone. I think I have some late dates in August still available, and September is open. So I'd love to do a reading for you, but let's dive in. I want to talk to you a little bit about Mercury in retrograde, and let's do this. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is all of the planets go retrograde except the sun and the moon. And every planet in our solar system travels in that same direction in its journey around the sun. And they never really pause and they never really turn backwards. They never go in the opposite direction, but they appear as if they do. So we're working with an optical illusion of a planet going retrograde, a planet going backwards. But that's all it is an optical illusion. However, in our lives, we do feel it when it's with Mercury, we feel it as a jolt and a stop. And we feel it very intensely, far more so than the other slower moving planets. Some of the planets like Uranus, Pluto, and Neptune, they stay retrograde for half a year. So you don't feel like your world is slamming on the brakes like you do with Mercury. So Mercury is going to retrograde 3 or 4 times a year in a calendar year. And it's going to be in retrograde for about 3 weeks, maybe 3.5. So at that time, everything gets switched up. And Mercury rules all things moving. So it rules our minds, which are in perpetual motion, the way we communicate, our technology, our cars, our electricity, information that we receive, the mail, right? How we dialogue, how we communicate, our conversations, our intelligence, if we're clear-minded, our instruction, the way we give instruction and the way we receive instruction, and accuracy. It rules accuracy, communication, reasoning. So think about this. It also rules our sense of humor and our wit and our research, negotiations, learning, reading, writing, and our memory. So you can also feel like you're really losing your memory at this time. It only takes 88 days for Mercury to go through all the signs to orbit around our solar system. So listen to this. If it only takes 88 days, these Mercury in retrogrades, really, they can blindside you. So I want to tell you that the day Mercury stations, okay, if you ever hear about Mercury stationing, that is the dime or the degree that it slows down and it stops and it turns around and goes backwards. So on that day is the big boom day. That's the day that it slams on the brakes. And that day is called when Mercury stations. There's a second station as well. And that's when Mercury creeps up to the place where it's going to slow down, slam on the brakes, turn around, go backwards. Then it goes all the way back, right? And the day that it turns around there, slows down, stops, turns around, and goes forward is the second station. So both those days are super important days. Those are the big, big breakdown days, if you will. Those are the most powerful points of a retrograde. And it's really important to know, and I'm probably not going to be able to do this today, but if you were born on a day that Mercury retrograded, that Mercury stationed in retrograde, you were born with a really, really exaggerated Mercury in retrograde. So it's kind of like Mercury in retrograde on steroids. So Mercury in retrograde, what I want you to know is there's nothing to be afraid of, but it's just like the weather. It's like a rainy day or a hot day, or if you're going to the beach and it's super sunny, you're going to wear your sunscreen, right? You're going to be prepared. So I want to prepare you. I'm kind of a myth buster because what we used to believe in astrology can be so archaic. And I just don't want anybody to fear Mercury in retrograde. If anything, I want to implore you or ask you or inspire you or motivate you to bring a sense of humor to Mercury in retrograde. Because first of all, Mercury does rule our sense of humor. And if you can be prepared, but then also completely laugh at how everything is crumbling, if it is, or laugh at how bad it is, you make it better already. So I don't want you to do doom and gloom and worst case scenario. And the way I used to teach Mercury in retrograde like 15 years ago is really different than how I see it now. And I think it's because I've had a lot more experience with it. I will tell you, though, there are a couple things that I would never do in Mercury in retrograde. So stay tuned through the whole of this video to hear what those are. And then we're going to get back to your charts. So again, if you want to super chat me, your dates will get up there, and we only need a couple more, but you'll be seen first by my assistant. So let me just talk about this. I want you to use Mercury in retrograde energy really positive, in a positive way. So when Mercury's in retrograde, all things that have to do with your ideas and your communication, your documents, your computers, your negotiations, purchasing large, making large purchases, I should say, a house, a car. These are things that you're going to want to really pay attention to. So I will tell you, it's not a great idea to start a new project in Mercury in retrograde. However, if you already have your project started before Mercury is in retrograde, I say go for it. So if you start your project at least 2 weeks prior to Mercury going retrograde, that's that station, right? Mercury stationing, then I feel like your project will be pretty smooth sailing. Now, I want to be really clear about something, okay? So go with me just a little bit deeper. I'm a deeper kind of reader. I don't read superficially. So there's the logistics on the surface, and then there's the authenticity of the project. So let's say you're launching a website, okay? And let's say you started it before Mercury in retrograde. I say go for it. Nuts and bolts, launch it if you want to, because you started it before. It's okay if you have to. If you can wait, I would wait. But if you can't wait, don't wait. However, what I want to tell you is this. The logistics of launching it and getting people to it might be the struggle. The nuts and bolts could collapse in on you. The web server might not work. The host might not get back to you. The site might not be written in the right script. And so your energy will be scattered. Bring your sense of humor, right? But it does not mean that your website is bad. It does not mean that your website won't ever work. It does not mean that you're not in alignment with your mission with your website, okay? So the website can still be good, but all the logistics around getting it launched were maybe nightmarish. So I want you to apply that concept to everything Mercury in retrograde. For example, if you're traveling on Mercury in retrograde, because communications suffers or is challenged, you might think, "Ooh, I don't want to travel in Mercury in retrograde." Well, it's not a bad idea to travel. It doesn't mean your trip is going to be bad. It doesn't mean you're going to die, but it could mean that there are delays. The de-icing didn't work well. It took extra time. You had to switch gates. You brought the wrong ticket. You can't get your money back on a ticket you already purchased. So what I would do is, if you are going to travel during Mercury in retrograde, or if you are booking your flight in Mercury in retrograde, buy a ticket with flexibility. Just pay the extra money to buy that flexible ticket. But it does not mean that you're going to die or be in perilous danger or your trip is going to go south. It means the communications, the logistics, the logical thinking isn't going to be simple. So if you have surgery, the same thing. I don't recommend surgery inside Mercury in retrograde, but if you have to have it, have it. What I want you to do, though, is let's say you're getting a hip replacement, right? Honestly, I would write on Sharpie on the hip that is getting replaced. Doctor, take this one, right? I would double check all my work. I would get to the doctor's office early. I would sign on the contract, but I would read and reread what I'm signing. So I would be extra careful. You know, it's like This is a time when negotiations can fall apart and computers can crash, or the closing of your house didn't go through, or your loan documents have now a 4.5 interest rate when the bank promised you a 2.0. Let's say you're that lucky. But you want to read the fine print. You don't want to stop participating in your life. I guess that's what I basically want to say. You don't want to not participate, but you do want to check and double check. So this is a time to revise your work. This is a time to refresh your energy. This is a time to renew old projects and commitments. This is a time to redo something. This is a time to re-examine, reevaluate, reorder, and remove. It is a time to get rid of the things that you don't want. This is a time to do your research. This is a better time for research than it is for launching. But what I'm saying is if you feel like you have to launch a project, if you feel like you have to have a surgery, if you have to travel, I don't want you to be afraid. You're going to be okay. You just might have mishaps. So there's a disadvantage to giving Mercury, which rules your mind and thoughts, too much paranoid thinking, right? Because you're going to create it. So I want you to stay really, really positive. And because I don't want you to have a self-fulfilling prophecy. So the other thing I want to tell you is it's really important, and this happens in themes, to know the element in which the retrograde falls. So is it fire, earth, air, water? So this year in 2019, we're having all these Mercury in retrogrades in water signs. The first one was Pisces. That was pretty awful. Tell me right now if you had a pretty bad Mercury in retrograde in March. Please write it in the little chat section for me, because it helps other people. It helps other people realize, wow, I'm not crazy. And out of all the Mercury in retrogrades I've ever experienced, I think this March 2019 was seriously, sincerely the most mind-boggling, hard and difficult Mercury in retrograde. I mean, it was bizarro. And that's because it was in Pisces and it had a Neptune aspect to it. And it was like the lines were erased, for boundaries and borders, and communication was just wonky. It was like just whacked out. So leave me a note if you had a really hard Mercury in retrograde in March. So right now we're moving from Mercury in Leo back to Cancer. And then October 31st through November 31st, Mercury will retrograde into Scorpio. So when Mercury is in a water element, and when we look at your charts, we're going to see what element your Mercury is in. It's asking us to be really good listeners. It's asking us to be compassionate, sympathetic, and empathetic communicators. It's asking us to dial into our intuition more than our rational thinking. When Mercury is in a water sign, it's emotional. Your mind is emotional. Your mind is sensitive. And it wants to write. It wants to listen. It wants to communicate in an emotional fashion. So if you don't know where your Mercury is, if you don't know where your natal planets are, I want to teach you. I want you to learn the deeper truth about astrology. I am an evolutionary astrologer. I'm not a Vedic astrologer. I get that question a lot. And if you do study Vedic astrology, you're going to see that my signs are one sign off. But I am an evolutionary astrologer. It means that I believe in the nodes representing a past life and a next lifetime. And I believe that our soul in this lifetime wants to become awakened and enlightened. And so I teach astrology to help you become the very best version of yourself that you can be. Who were you born to be in your highest facet? And how can I help you tap into that? And if you struggle with communication, this is your Mercury. So if you want a natal report and you don't know where your planets are, you can go to my full slate online scheduler. We're going to list it below in the notes after this live stream. And you can purchase a natal report. You can also purchase a natal chart. The chart just is the circle and shows you where everything's at. But the natal reports that I offer, they're so inexpensive. I can't even remember what I charge, but not very much. The writer is not me, but I think the writer is really, really brilliant and really wonderful. So you get an in-depth look at where all your planets are, what they mean, what the aspects are to those planets, and it's really good. So after this live read, if you want to order one, just go on my Full Slate online scheduler, scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you can pick one of the reports that I have offered there. I also have an amazing lovers report. So if you want to know about your partner and you, it's amazing. That report's like almost 50 pages long. So that's a really, really good one. And I love this writer. She's just fantastic. So I want to tell you a couple of things. I talked to you really quickly about when you travel and when you're launching a project. But there's one thing I really want to tell you. If you're going to purchase a car or if you're going to purchase a house, I want you to keep your receipts. I want you to keep everything if you purchase that inside Mercury in retrograde. Again, this is a really good time to research which house you want. Go look at all the houses. This is the time to, research the kind of car you want. Do a lot of research. This is the time to investigate. This is the time to think a little bit longer about it. So this is also the time for technology to back everything up. So expect yourself to lose all your data, right? If this whole screen goes out, I wouldn't be surprised. If you are auditioning for something or doing a job interview, prepare beforehand and know that the microphone might not work. Be okay with it. Bring your sense of humor, because your sense of humor will make it so much better and happier. So let's talk about how I can kind of sum this up. When Mercury is in retrograde, it's as if your thinking is non-linear. It's a little bit more random and a little bit more scattered. So having that deep relationship conversation is a really bad idea inside Mercury in retrograde. As a matter of fact, just put yourself to bed before you have that conversation, before you want to have, the talk, if you will. And I just feel like communication can lead to so many misunderstandings and so many trouble spots, blind spots. And it doesn't have to be a fight. But if you feel like you heard something that offended you, instead of jumping to a conclusion, talk to the person who said whatever it is they said to you and say, can I clarify that? This is a time for real clarity and asking for clarification, double checking your words, double check. I bet you anything, your listening is off. And because it's in Cancer, it's probably defensive, overly emotional, and extra sensitive. And then when it goes into Scorpio, same thing, very emotional. So this Mercury in retrograde right now in July, it began on July 7th. So that was yesterday, if you're live with me now, at 4 degrees Leo at about 4:15 p.m. Pacific time. And it retrogrades all the way back to 23 degrees Cancer. Okay, so it's at 4 degrees Leo, and it's going to go all the way back to 23 degrees Cancer, and it ends on July 31st. So this particular Mercury in retrograde, just to give you a few little sentences about it, is pretty intense and combative, but it is not like the one when in Pisces in March, because that was just massively confusing. But this one has a tinge of anger, and it can be kind of cutting because Mars is right next to Mercury. It's conjunct. They sit right next to each other. And it can be impulsive and provocative. It can provoke you because it's also in a square aspect, a challenging aspect to Uranus. So it can be, you can feel extra anxious, extra nervous, extra rush. It brings up the potential to lose your temper or get into an argument. So Mercury entered that retrograde zone. It's stationed at 23 degrees Cancer on June 20th. And this is a little bit advanced. So if I lose you, forgive me. But for people who are advanced thinkers, if you will, advanced Mercuries here, I want to share with you that Mercury entered the retrograde zone on June 20th, 2019, but it did not go retrograde until July 7th. So what did I just say? So during the first shadow period, you are going to get an idea of the thinking or the communication or the transportation or the logistic issues that are going to bubble up during this retrograde period. So the Mercury retrograde phase is just one part of the entire retrograde cycle. So the whole Mercury retrograde cycle, if you will, it goes like this. Mercury goes direct, it retrogrades and goes backwards, right? And it's going to go backwards all the way back to 23 degrees Cancer, which is 23 degrees Cancer is where we were on June 20th. It's where Mercury was on at June 20th. So on June 20th, Mercury sat at 23 degrees Cancer. And that is the point in which it is going to station and go direct again. So let me say it again. The first shadow phase, June 20th, Mercury entered the retrograde zone because it entered where it's eventually going to stop. I hope I'm making sense. At 23 degrees Cancer. So on July 7th, it bumped all the way up to 4 degrees Leo, right? And then it stationed and it turns around and it's going to go all the way back to 23 degrees Cancer. And it's going to get there on the 31st of July, right where it was on June 20th. That's why June 20th is an important day. Between June 20th and July 7th, what happened to you? What were you working on? What were you doing? What kind of communication? Were you building a relationship? Were you launching a website? What were you doing? Interviewing for a job? So those are the issues that are going to interplay and bubble up and come up between now and July 31st. So what I want to say to you is there's a second shadow phase. We're not going to officially get out of the second shadow phase until it leaves the retrograde zone, which will be August 15th. Now, I know I said it ends on the 31st, but it really doesn't get out of that second shadow phase until August 15th. So on August 15th, we start moving away from that 23 degree Cancer and we start going forward again. So I'll give you the shortcut version of everything I just said, but I hope I didn't lose anybody. Basically, 2 weeks before and 2 weeks after each Mercury in retrograde is absolutely critical to treat it as if it is still in Mercury in retrograde, although it's just in its shadow. But we don't love the shadow. We don't love the shadow at all. So I want to start looking at some charts and see how this shows up for you guys. But first, I want to invite you. My next live stream, I would love to know what future topics you would like for me to talk about. But I would love for you to join me on Monday, August 12th at 7 p.m. because I kind of wanted to talk about love and attraction. And who are you most attracted to? Who is it so easy for you to love? So we're going to talk about everything love and attraction, and it's going to be fun. And we're going to look at charts, and it's just going to be absolutely wonderful. So I want you to mark your calendar, and then I'll also announce it. So my assistant's going to give me my first person.
Yeah, actually, do you want to answer 2 questions from the audience?
Yeah. Okay, I'll answer 2 questions from the audience.
So the first, how will the retrograde couple with the lunar eclipse in Capricorn, and will it cancel out that energy?
Oh gosh. Okay. So no, it's not going to, nothing can cancel out an eclipse. That's a great question. I guess I should repeat the question.
Yeah.
Can you repeat?
Yeah. So the retrograde, how will it couple with that energy in the lunar eclipse?
How will the Mercury and retrograde energy right now couple with the lunar eclipse energy? So an eclipse is all things. An eclipse is so profound and so big, it changes the whole entire course of your life, especially if that eclipse is in your sign or in your opposite sign or square. So I hope you guys have all watched my videos in the July transits. And then I think I had, another video. Well, I'll try to link them to this if I can. I don't know if I can, but at least go watch my July video. Is that right? Mm-hmm. My July video where I talk about that, where it is imperative if you are a Cancer, Capricorn, Aries, and Libra, you guys stick with me all year long because you're in eclipse season and it's square to Aries and Libra. And then it is right on the axis of Capricorn and Cancer. So Mercury in retrograde is just going to make everything discombobulated and kind of kooky crazy. It's going to slow things down. If you prepare for it though, you can end up extra thoughtful, but it's going to make things upside down and inside out. So your life might be changing and you might be massively confused or massively delayed in creating those changes. So it's kind of like stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. And yeah, I hope that helps.
We have a couple people setting in there. We have all the people. So if you want to invite people to come to our next, because we're not going to take any more.
Oh, okay. So Carly, okay. So my assistant says that we've got our charts that we're going to do. So that's fantastic. Okay. Was there another question?
Yep, that's it.
Okay, that was a question. Okay, so now this person is for Cheeky, July 10th, 2000. So how old is this person? 19. Oh, July 10th. Yeah. Just turning 19 in a couple days. Happy birthday. How exciting. From Pakistan. Thank you for joining me at 8:50 p.m. So your Mercury is in the 5th house and it's retrograde in Cancer. And it sits, what do you know, right there on Mars. So this is an exact duplication. The transits today are an exact duplication of what you were born with. So what's interesting about that is you probably feel kind of comfortable in this Mercury in retrograde because you know it. And it's like we all recognize, it's like a mirror reflection. So Mercury in Cancer in the 5th house, retrograde. Let's pull it apart really quickly. Mercury in the 5th house, that is the communication planet, the self-expression planet is in the house of self-expression. So this is a person who is also a Cancer and Aquarius rising. And hold on. Okay, so this is a person who has a very unique and different self-expression. This is somebody who really sees the world in a unique way, but maybe has a very hard time speaking about things that will create conflict. A deep fear of conflict. Cancers really fear conflict. You put Mercury, your communication planet, in the sign of Cancer, and you make it retrograde. It goes inward. But I already see Cancer as an inward sign. So this is a person who has kind of an extroverted desire because the 5th house is self-expression. It's Leo energy. It's looking to stand on a stage. It wants to be valuable, of value, important, and kind of have a little pizzazz and razzle dazzle. And then you put it in this shy crab sign and then you retrograde it. This person has such a rich and deep internal landscape, but the real job is to get it to come out. So there's 3 things you need to do. This is cheeky. You need to take risks, and take risks, because you will never remedy. There will always be a gap between what you are thinking and then what you're doing until you shore it up with taking a risk. The 5th house is the risk taker house, but then you put that retrograde in there, that Mercury in retrograde, it doesn't want to take the risk. So somebody's got to push you. I hope that helps. Leave me a comment and tell me if you can relate to that.
Next we get Kyle.
Okay, next we have Kyle. Whoa, look at Kyle's chart. Oh my gosh. Whoa, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 planets in Capricorn. Your life is so changing. I just have to say that as a sidebar. This is like, wow, 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 wow. Wow, I've never even seen a chart like this. And I've seen like 85,000 charts. Is this for real? January 11th, 94 at 8:38 a.m. from Kentucky. So, oh my gosh. Wow, I don't even know where to start with this one. So you have Mercury, not retrograde, but in Capricorn. And you do have it right there next to your part of fortune, and you have it next to Uranus. So breaking free is so important to you. There is something about your life that is like routined or even a little bit rigid, or you felt like you've had to follow the rules and you don't want to. So breaking free is so critical. And the first way you do that is through communicating differences. So if you're going to break free, you're going to want to communicate that you don't want to do things the ordinary way. You don't want to be a rule follower. You are born to be a leader times 7. This is an enormous leadership chart, but the leadership comes from articulating and expressing new ways of thinking because you've got Uranus and Mercury like Siamese twins And Uranus is the progressive thinker, but Capricorn is the traditionalist. So breaking free from tradition by implementing innovative thoughts and not being afraid to speak about them. And I use the word afraid because it's all in the 12th house. And the 12th house is a little bit afraid to shine. The 12th house is the basement of the chart. And so don't keep your voice in the basement, especially when you're born to be a leader. But again, there's a shy quality to that 12th house. However, you've got badass Uranus just, sitting right there on it. And so it wants to break out. So please put in the notes, if you wouldn't mind, tell me how you are breaking free from tradition. I want to know that. And do you still live in Kentucky, or do you live in a more progressive modern place? Did you move to New York City or London? I'm just curious.
Fun thing about Kyle, his brother, you did his twin brother last time, and they had this very same makeup. So he's back to do that.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So you're a twin, and I did your brother's chart. How fun is that?
They had all that 12th house energy.
You guys love astrology. We'll come back again and we'll do love and attraction next month, August 12th, 7 p.m. I can't wait. Okay, let's do another person here.
And Cheeky says a big thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, Cheeky. Leave a little note below so everybody can benefit from learning about you and learning about the accuracy. If I do strike a chord with you, I would love to know about it so everybody can learn. When you leave a comment, every single person benefits. So I love comments. I try to answer all the questions. And I'm grateful. Okay, so this is Samantha, born April 16th, 99. How old is she? She's 20. 99. Okay, yeah. No, she is 10.
In 99? It's 2019.
2019. Oh, 99. I thought it was 2009. Okay, good. Sorry. This is why you have an assistant. And this is Mercury in retrograde, right? Can't do your math. Your math doesn't add up. It's not linear thinking anymore. And because it's in Cancer, it's really intuitive. And so sometimes your intuition is seeing something that is not so. So April 16th, 4:43 a.m. in San Diego. And her Mercury is right there as her, right there on her ascendant. In Pisces. So, a lot of people say that Mercury struggles when it's in Pisces because Pisces is, it rules the space of infinity. And you are a Pisces rising. I hope you watched my Pisces rising video. If you didn't, I think you should. But with your Mercury there, it's like you're a double Pisces. So when the mind is in Pisces, it is really hard to get it to come into a narrow way. It doesn't like operating in the weeds. It likes operating in the dream, and it likes operating in largeness. So you're a true visionary. When you have Mercury in Pisces, you can see the big picture really, really well. Sometimes having a little dash of Virgo, which you don't really have, can help you bring it in and scale it down. But it's almost like you're drawing a picture too big for the paper, right? And so we might not get to see the whole picture. We might not get to see the entire landscape because your sight is so enormous. That's also psychic sight. So I would really, really recommend you step deep into your intuition and do ritual. Bring your intuition into your heart and soul. You also are going to feel your thoughts. So you must be a great storyteller. And it's very profound to have Mercury in Pisces. When it operates in its highest self, it's like you are the poet. You have the poet's mind or the songwriter's mind. Do you write music? What do you do? I'd love to know. You're in Aries, so there's a creative aspect to you. And you also would be less combative or less, maybe combative is not the right word. I think competitive is what I wanted to say with that Mercury in Pisces. So that's always having thoughts for others. Okay, who's next? I hope that's helped. Leave me a little message on here and let me know what you think about that. Okay. Oh, this is Kim, May 19th, 1969. This is my Kim. I love Kim. Born on a 29-degree Taurus sun and you have Mercury in Gemini in retrograde, which is a really interesting thing. So Mercury in Gemini is on 24 radio stations at all times. It can go in 1,000 different directions. It can multitask really, really well. It's kind of impatient because it processes super fast, and it can put out a lot of data and it can receive a lot of data. And it's very linear, very analytical. It can see the entire chess game, and it's a strategist. It can organize and compartmentalize really, really fast, and can be so stinking impatient because it gets to the bottom line very, very quickly. And Mercury in Gemini can be always processing for answers. But when it goes retrograde, all that goes internally. And all of that has a hard time coming out. So this person has such a vastly wired world internally, and being able to sort through the thoughts and pull them out one at a time to express them would be challenging. But what's beautiful about it is the brilliance of this mind, the vastness, the ability to constantly strategize, and the ability to think quickly is very refreshing. This is also a very youthful mind. And this is somebody who isn't going to want to play by everybody else's rules, but it's going to want to innovate for positioning in life. And so I want to ask you, though, to be patient with yourself, because you are processing a lot, and meditation should be absolutely imperative to you, or drinking sleepy time tea starting at like 8 o'clock at night, right? So you can rest the brain. You have got to rest your mind. Your mind is so alive. You've got to take care of it. Okay.
This is Heidi Darling's nephew.
Okay. So this is Heidi's nephew, and it's March 25th, 2011. And this retrograde is in Aries conjunct Jupiter. Oh my gosh, in the 8th house. And Virgo rising. This person's pretty fascinating, to tell you the truth. They have a warrior mind. The mind is so strong. And wow, such a largeness to the mind. There's when you have Mercury and Jupiter together, it makes your mind like 13,000 times the size of Earth. It also creates an optimism. And I wouldn't say that about Mercury in Aries just by itself, but with Jupiter pretty close, it's 9 degrees away, and anything within 10 degrees is the orb that I use. So I consider it conjunct if it's within 10 degrees. And this is 9 degrees. So it's wide, but it's still there. So there's a flavor of optimism. I like that for that Aries, because Aries can be very competitive. And with Virgo rising, that's the critic's eye. So I want to tell you something. If you are a Virgo or a Gemini rising, Mercury rules your entire chart. It is your chart ruler. So this guy's Mercury, his mind, his communication runs his world. And then he's got it in the 8th house, which is pretty darn deep. Really, really, really deep, adds a psychic element to it. And you put it with Jupiter there. He's quite the philosopher. He's a warrior philosopher. I'd love to know what he's studying, what he's doing, because this guy, whatever he puts his mind to, he can conquer. This is a really fascinating person. So let me know what he does, what his interests are. I'm so curious. He's really a unique person because he has Uranus on the sun too, but I'm not going into that right now. Anyways, hugs to you, Heidi. Let's see, who do we got now? Alex, December 27th. Okay, so Alex is having a big life change too, because you're right on that axis, right? The eclipse axis. And you also have your Mercury in the 12th house in Capricorn. And it's a little bit wide. It's too wide to sit on your sun, and it's too wide to sit on your Neptune, even though 13, actually it sits on your Neptune by 1 degree. So there is a Neptunian quality to that, which is helpful for Capricorn. Neptune is the dreamer, and it's in Capricorn. So let me look at this. Well, there's a creative element to you. There's a sensitive element to you. You are probably not a typical Capricorn. You probably are a little bit softer, a little bit more sensitive, and a little bit more gentle. You have your mind is like a pillar of strength and very reliable. But there is this piece where You would hate conflict, absolutely hate conflict, because it's in the 12th house. It's so sensitive. But having 4 planets in Capricorn, including your Mercury, there's a leadership quality. But again, I don't know if you can get it out. Born in 1994, I hope you're experiencing yourself as a leader, as somebody who also has a really creative side, and getting into that creativity, making sure you write. Music would be a healer for you, a healing remedy for you to calm your mind down and put it in a tranquil state. I'm wondering if that brings you anxiety because you want to accomplish so much. But when Mercury is in the 12th house, it is shy to put itself out into the world. So I invite you to do that. Be bold, be loud, be colorful. Let yourself self-express, and let the leader in you shine. Okay, let's see. Who do
This
we
is
have?
a username. Remaining embers.
Remaining Embers, November 16th, 94. This is you. Let's see. Your Mercury is in the 3rd house and it's in Scorpio. And it sits on your Venus and it sits on your North Node. And it's in the 3rd house, as I said. So, and also your Virgo rising. So this Mercury runs your entire chart. So let me tell you about this chart ruler for a minute. Virgo is the sign of your chart ruler, but you need to put fuel into the Virgo rising to make it animate or make it go, right? Well, you put scorpionic fuel into your Virgo rising. So there's an intensity to you. You would be a great detective. You would be a great researcher. You would be great at ferreting out the lies and the truths. You would be phenomenal in case study. You would be a brilliant songwriter, if you will, because the 3rd house is the house of the voice. I bet you anything your voice is intense and magnetic and seductive and powerful and precise. So you have to tell me what you do with your voice. It's imperative that you use your voice in this lifetime and you use it in a profound, powerful way that actually transforms other people. So use your communication to transform others. You'd be a great psychiatrist, psychologist, and because you can detect lies. You have the best bullshit meter that I've read so far. It's really hard with Virgo rising and then all that Scorpio to get anything past you. So you would do great work with lies, anything where the truth needs to be revealed, taking on, I don't know, fraud. You would be fantastic at that. What do you do for a living? Oh my God, I'm so interested.
Just want to tell you, Nancy Gertz gave $20.
Oh, I
Say
love
thank
her.
you.
And I can't skip her because I'm so indebted to Nancy. I am going to skip over and do Nancy, but we're putting your little chart in. Let's look at your communication planet. I think you might be an Aquarius Mercury. It's hard to type fast, right? So when you have Mercury in a certain house, it flavors the entire, and thank you for your super chat. That is so generous and nice of you. This is the fabulous Nancy. January 26th. Okay, let's look at this. Oh, you have Mercury in Capricorn, but it sits at the 29th degree. So you don't have it retrograde, but it sits also in the 6th house. So to look at what the 6th house is, and then we want to look at Capricorn. But if you've watched any of my videos, or if you've followed me, or if you study any of my work, you know that I think that the 29th degree is the crisis degree. So let me talk about that in 2 ways. I'll talk about what's hard about that, and then I'll talk about what's really interesting about that and kind of cool. So you also have your Mercury, even though it's not by sign, it is by degree, meaning it's close enough in space, but it's in the sign next door. So you have Mercury at 29 degrees Capricorn, and then you have it sitting right on Venus, even though Venus is in Aquarius. It's super close. See, Mercury's in the very last degree of Capricorn. It's actually only 8 seconds away from being an Aquarius, but it is not an Aquarius. It is a Capricorn. So when Mercury is in Capricorn, it is a traditionalist. It likes tradition. It likes having a routine, and it likes being safe. But it really is a leader. It is the person who runs the show. It is the person who can run the operations, if you will. However, being in the 29th degree, it wants to do that. It's capable of doing that. But then for some reason, that mission can be thwarted. It can go sideways. It can be not fulfilled to the degree that the person is truly capable. So it takes people discovering your leadership ability to give you a chance or shine the light on you, because you won't be a self-promoter. It takes somebody else to promote you, and that's because it's in the 29th degree. So it automatically doesn't know how valuable it is. And it has to learn that over time and experience and through taking risks. And when that mind operates at its highest best self, it builds a self-esteem and a confidence that it wasn't born with, because it is at the 29th degree. So this person has to have experiences to get confident. And this person has to sort of be pushed to the front of the line because they secretly want to go there, but too humble and too shy to put themselves there. So
two things. Tracy Clemente gave $25. So big thank you to her.
Oh, thank you, Tracy, for your super chat.
We need her birth time.
I need your birth time, and I'll do your. You are actually in this computer, but you're not in that old computer. So if you could give me your birth time, she probably thought I already knew it.
Also, we need to go back to the early ones because people have been waiting, just because more people are adding.
Okay, so then we have to go back to the earlier ones. So
Gwen's an earlier one.
This is Gwen Parker. She has her. This is an earlier person who's been waiting. Thank you, Gwen. I got to talk faster, don't I? Let's see. So you are a Capricorn. All these Capricorns are watching my station, and thank God. Stick with me for the entire year. I'm not joking, because your world is going to change. You're shifting train tracks right now. Where is your Mercury? Oh, there it is. In Sagittarius. How fun is that? So that's kind of liberating. Mercury in Sag is a great storyteller. It's not in retrograde, and it's conjunct Neptune. So you can have big ideas. You can even overinflate. So just like I was talking about the person before on the 29th degree Capricorn, this is a little bit opposite, because this is big. This is large and in charge. This is a person who kind of knows their worth and puts themselves in leadership positions and kind of goes out and grabs it, is a little bit unafraid to express themselves. And you probably make yourself feel very comfortable. You probably make other people feel really comfortable because you're probably funny. You're probably a dreamer. You're probably very colorful. You probably believe in playing big. And you probably have an ease and an effortlessness around saying what you mean and meaning what you say. And then you have that Pisces moon. And so you must be a really colorful person. The Capricorn element to you is a little bit more traditional, but the way that you speak and the way that you think is very philosophical. And you probably really want to, get down to the truth. And you also want to help other people with that Neptune there. You have a great imagination. And when you have Neptune on your Mercury, I have that too. You have a psychic sense about you. You can probably, if you sit still long enough, you can tap into the feelings and thoughts of other people. Okay. And this is Emma. Hi, Emma. It's so good to have you here. Okay. And then we have one more after this, July 27th. And by the way, I love your son. He's an amazing, amazing, amazing young man. You must be so proud of him. I know I am, and he's not even my son. Where are you? Mercury. Okay, there you are. Mercury in the 10th house. Wow. And it's in Cancer. So you are like the sensitive, accomplished, leader. The 10th house it's your place in the community. And so you probably speak with great authority, but compassionate authority. There's a sensitivity to other people. You genuinely care about other people. You need a career or a work, or your work needs to express that, caring about other people and guiding them, leading them, teaching them, demonstrating to them their potential, because it's in Cancer. And so it takes care of others, but it's in the house of fame, fortune, leadership, karma, leaving a great legacy. So uh, you have to feel really worthwhile to feel satisfied in this lifetime. Also, you are going to be put in a position that is highly revered. So you have to use your voice and your thought process to to basically, that needs to be the gift that you use in your work, because the 10th house is also like the legacy that you leave behind, and it is your great works. You would probably be a really good public speaker, to be honest. You should get some public speaking jobs.
All right, we're going to end with Tracy.
Okay, and then we're going to do Tracy, and I want you guys to leave me your Mercury in retrograde stories, if you will. I want to know if the March retrograde was how it was for you. And if you have any questions, please, please, please leave them here for me. And I promise you, I will try. And you can always order a report off my website, and then come back, mark your calendars for August 12th, 7 p.m. That's Monday night. I think Monday nights are the best nights for me. And we're going to do love and attraction. And I'm so sorry I wasn't able to get to everybody. I've got my family out there waiting for me to have dinner. And we're going to just end with this one. So this is, thank you for your super chats, by the way. That was so nice of you. Let's look at this. Her Mercury is in Virgo with Mars right smack on your Mercury. So Mars and Mercury are right there together. So in Virgo in the 11th house. So this is somebody who has incredible mental acumen. This is somebody who's very, very driven, very ambitious, can be down in the weeds, if you will, connecting all the little dots and how they add up to the big picture. This is also somebody who is a great critic, if you will. You would be a great film critic, a food critic, somebody who can evaluate. You are so discerning. You know the difference between good and great and fantastic and euphoria. So euphoric. So you know the differences in tiny measurements, and you can be quite convincing and persuasive. Such a direct communicator. Bottom line, you're not going to mince words. You know exactly what you want and what you don't want. And if you put your mind to it, you can be a warrior, right? You can be so driven, so ambitious, and so analytical, because it's in the house of Aquarius, but it's in the sign of Virgo. So this is somebody who has an advanced processor, if you will. It's also very close to your South Node. So you came into this world with a really strategic mind. You kind of have some self-mastery around the mind and the mental process. So it wasn't retrograde at the time you were born. I think I only had one retrograde, but 30% of the people out there do have Mercury in retrograde. And when you have Mercury in retrograde in your natal chart, it's hard for it to come out fully in its natural self-expression. You have to work a little bit harder to get your mind and your communication and your verbal talent to be exposed. So it's like the door is a little bit stuck, but once you bolt it open, and once you'll build your character out of those challenges, truthfully, and you will value communication like other people won't, because it's harder for you. So you might have to practice your speech a few more times. It's not like you have a natural gift. It's like you have to grow your gift. And one is not better than the other. So I hope you guys like this. Are we good? What?
Where can they find their chart?
Oh,
just go ahead and say it again.
Okay. And so if you want your chart, if you want to see if you have Mercury in retrograde, You can just order. I think it's like $5. I can't even remember what I charge. It's not very much money. Just check out my full slate online scheduler, and you can scroll all the way down and you can find charts and reports there. And I try to send them out just as soon as you order them. So thank you all for being here. I'm so grateful. And I hope you like this. Also, if you have another idea for a live stream, future live stream, I want to hear your idea. What would you like to learn about? What would you like me to talk about? Because you matter to me and I want you to learn about the stuff that you want to learn about. So thank you so much. Take good care. And I will see you on August 12th. In the meantime, bye.